So having those spaces is one of the ways that we're kind of having to deal with the flexibility of hybrid workplaces. Are there any other, maybe behaviours or features of hybrid that must be accounted for in design?
Yeah, so I mean, the behavioural side is, although it can always be the least costly of things, it's always it might be the most time costly, and it affects feelings and emotions. But the behavioural side of that change is massive. Really, you can't just expect people to get used to something when you change the design of their workspace. So yeah, we've seen obvious differences pre-post pandemic. First one being ownership of desk space. If it was a one desk per person scenario pre-pandemic, you really didn't have to think about where you were going to sit that day. You knew your things were there. You didn't really have to tidy up. You could make a mess. But now, obviously, to make the best use of any real estate, if you're having a shared desk scenario where people are agile and use other spaces on the floor plate, like I said earlier, it's adding those levels of behavioural difference in. And you have to think about where am I going to sit. Yes, it might be with your team, but it might be which desk within that team. You have to think about where you're storing your things. So now we're having to introduce more personal storage into the floor plates, and it's often quite hard to find spaces to actually build locker spaces. You actually need a solid back wall for that. But it can be useful to break up spaces as well. And then there's the whole cleanliness thing. What am I using? Has it been cleaned overnight or cleaned this morning? Did the person who used it before me clean it? Do I now have to clean it up and tidy it away myself at the end of a day? So there are all these much more behavioural things to think about, which, as long as you believe for the greater good of your firm and your colleagues and your bottom line of what you pay for your real estate, then I think you've hit the nail on the head then, if you can be happy with that.
We've spoken previously with Chris Moriarty, who you've worked alongside with, actually. Yeah, he was saying to us on the call that it's a bit of a weird time in the workplace. Everything's kind of merging and evolving, and design is being influenced far more by different groups who never really had a say in it before, such as like HR and the actual facilities teams themselves.